Hi, and welcome to Ed Talk. I'm Scott Lay, Nevada County Superintendent of Schools, and with me today is Anne Perdue. And Annie is with us because she is the Nevada County Teacher of the Year. So I'm so excited, Annie, that you could be here. Thank you for taking time of racing up from your site right after school to be here and talk to us.
Right after school, after calling out kids out to their cards, I get to call out you and see what we're doing here.
Well, this is going to be great. It's an opportunity, I think, for our audience to get to look into what it takes to be a Teacher of the Year, the process of it, and then just kind of a peek behind, what it's like today in the classroom. Things have changed over the years. You and I have worked in Nevada County for quite some time, known each other for quite some time, and so I'm excited you're here. So with that, let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What school you're at, the grade you're at. We'll start there.
Okay. Well, currently I'm at Ready Springs. Actually, currently I've been there 14 years, so I guess it's more than currently at this time. I've been teaching for 18 years, and I think that all started when I was 18, and I was voted most likely to be the next Miss Marianne on Romper Room in high school.
Wow, so it was predetermined. You really had no choice.
I really had no choice, according to my mother also.
Right.
She said that.
Right.
But I had to do human resources. I ended up working in a veterinary hospital for many years, and then I just decided, well, why not try a third gig? And so I went into substitute teaching, decided I liked it, thought I should get a credential, and ended up at Union Hill School for 3 years. And then with changes and everything that happened 14, 15 years ago, found myself at Ready Springs.
Right.
And I started as a sixth grade teacher. Now kindergarten, really not much difference. They still don't.
Similar attention span?
Similar attention span, still don't know when to use the bathroom.
Right.
Still think the world revolves around them.
Right.
And cries for no reason.
Right.
So
very
I got
similar.
it
So it was
covered.
an easy transition.
Yeah.
But what grade ages? I mean, K up to 6.
Yeah, love them all.
So currently kindergarten teaching, and you've been doing that for how many years?
I was trying to figure that out. I think it's been my 8th year now.
Your 8th year doing kindergarten.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
And I know we met each other when you were at Union Hill, and our kids were there. And I met you there, and I think your daughter was into mountain biking or BMX riding, if I remember correctly.
She was, and we took that as far as we could go.
Right. And she did quite well, if I remember.
She did. She did some national titles, and we did some traveling, and so it was kind of a nice experience for
I remember
that.
seeing some of her trophies. They were quite impressive she would bring back. So.
They're still at home.
Yeah,
she hasn't taken them
she hasn't
with
taken
her
those yet.
No.
One day.
Yeah,
So
they're still there.
So 8 years, you've been doing kindergarten now. And so let's talk about kindergarten. How many students do you have? Because kindergarten is such an important age. I know we have our TK, we have our pre-K. We're getting more, but kindergarten really, is that bedrock of getting those skills, so they start the progression. The students, first, second, third, and on.
Well, my goal for kindergarten is to get them to love school and to get them to love learning.
Most important thing.
And get their parents to learn to love school and learn to love learning at their level as well. And so currently, we have such a high enrollment of kindergarten, but it's at that funny stage where you can't really split a class, but you can't have all of them there all the time. So I have 24 in the morning, and then I get the rest of them. I get up to 31 in the afternoon. 31
in the afternoon. I don't know, for any parents, if you have kindergartners, you can imagine a couple when you have a birthday party. To have 31 over for a birthday party and have a structured afternoon after you've had 24 in the morning, that's a lot.
It's interesting, though, that you bring that up. When we had to do all of this over Zoom and the COVID and teaching kindergarten over COVID, and I think parents, we're trying to be teachers. Well, we're all teachers. We're all teachers at somewhere.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think I actually had the upper hand at that point because I actually have the training. They weren't my kids. Because they're my students. Well, they are my kids too, but I kind of have a little bit of extra bonus points behind me on how to handle those certain things and organize. I can, do a game of hopscotch quickly, and where a parent is still looking for where the cake is hiding, maybe in the.
You have all the tools.
I have all the tools
that you had in the training.
Yeah, just like Bob Vila.
Exactly with the home.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm hearing that our kindergarten and our preschool classes across the county are full, and there a lot of them, like Ready Springs, are like ready can we make the next jump and
Right.
hire one more teacher? But it's that bubble, which is exciting to see that we've got growth in the younger ages coming in, and you know, because that's great for our schools going all the way through. But kindergarten is so different. I mean, from when you and I started our careers in education, I know, you know, I started 32 plus years ago, and kindergarten was a very different animal
Yes.
than it is today. So kind of maybe tell our audience, what does a kindergarten day look like? Because it's not just like getting in and trying to stop the boys from eating the paste, you know, and doing those type of things.
Yeah.
It really is quite structured, and the goals that you're looking to achieve.
So the goals are, by the end of the year, they count to 100. They can read sight words, those high-frequency words. They can decode words, those consonant, vowel, consonant words. But that's certainly not where we start. A lot of them don't even know their alphabet or the sounds,
Right.
or that there's upper and lower case. So just getting the basics, getting them used to being in a classroom, sitting on a carpet, having people beside them, learning that they're part of a community.
Right.
That's that in and of itself takes up half the year.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you get, you know, as I used to see kids coming in at different levels, you had those kids who had been in preschool, they had been in a structured situation. Maybe others had had the luxury of a parent at home with
Right.
them who were then teaching them sounds, even some letters. And other parents, you know, that weren't able to do that because you had two parents trying to
Right.
work to
Right.
make ends meet or what have you. So very different skill sets that arrive on the first day of school for you.
And finding that, and the cool thing about kindergarten is that I do have the opportunity to make groups, to put them together. So the ones that are still identifying what letters are, you know, lines and curves, I can put them together, but not hold back the kids that are still reading
which is so important.
and doing all of that. So it's really kind of a neat place to be where I can get to each of their levels because they all are, and eventually get them hopefully to the same level. I had one little boy, I remember one year, was way above, and so I'd have him, you know, decoding Harry Potter. He was reading some Harry Potter, and I gave him a little notebook so he wouldn't keep interrupting. And his first question is, why isn't infinity a number? And I figured, okay, well, we've got this
Great
end,
question.
and we've got the other ones still rolling on the floor.
Right, yes.
So-
just one trying to sit up.
Yeah.
It is, and what you said, I mean, you it sounds easy, but I can tell our audience that's not the differentiated instruction of the multiple levels, and so obviously it takes a really good teacher to do that, to be able to bring those that are just learning up, while, as you said, not getting those children that are a little more advanced at that time
Correct.
bored,
Yes.
because when they're bored at that age, discipline issues.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's definitely an art. That's for sure, of doing that.
And I think the experience, you have to say, well, that one didn't work.
Right.
I tried that. Let's see what we can do something different. Or that's one I'm certainly going to try again. And again, it works for this group of kids, but next year it might not be the same
so
mixture, the
true.
same ingredients, and you just have to have a really big arsenal
Yeah.
or really big imagination, one or the other.
Yeah, a lot of tools to go to it. I know, what you said, that's so important, that what works one year doesn't work the next year. Works with one student, doesn't work with another student.
Right.
They're all very different, and that's the awesome thing about them. We don't want them all the same.
Oh, gosh,
and they
no.
all learn differently.
Right.
And at different stages. So
And
kindergarten's, it's wonderful going into. But boy, when I go and visit schools in kindergarten, I love going in there, hanging out with the kids, but I get tired. I can't imagine you, and I'm just there for like a half hour, 45-minute visit, and being a middle school teacher where I came from.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when I taught
was very
sixth
different.
grade, it was really nice. If I, needed to take a break, I'd say, Mrs. Perdue needs a timeout. Everybody take out a book, and
they
I'd
could do
sit
it.
down and they'd do it. I take a breath in kindergarten, and there's no doing it. And I think, again, once you've done it a couple years in a row, it's not as scary. There's still those moments of, oh, what do I do? But
Yeah.
it just you jump right in with all of that, and they're able to, once you develop, I think, the relationship with those kiddos, you really have to develop the relationship with them. They've got to know that you've got their back, and the trust, and the families, that takes that part
absolutely.
too, so that when you do have those moments of blank, you can fill it with laughter, you
Right.
can fill it with fun, you can say, oh, I just forgot what I was going
Yeah.
to do, and let's try something else. So it's a combination. It's a whole conglomeration of skills and techniques that you don't even know you have.
Right, I'll bet. And something different every single day.
Every single day.
Every single day. Well, let's talk about the process, the Teacher of the Year process. And for our audience, it is a process where each school district and school can forward the name of one teacher that is their Teacher of the Year. It comes to my office, and then we bring in a panel of outside former teachers who then go through the process. And it's not easy. It's work to do that. It would be really nice if those honors, they would come and go, yep, you're it. But you have to actually do quite a bit to get that. You have to film yourself.
It wasn't $1 million in a box of
No, which would be really nice. And doing that. So tell us a little bit about that process. Is when clearly Ready Springs made a great choice.
Well, thank you.
But then you need to make a decision. Do you, as our Nevada County Teacher of the Year, which was unanimous, of going to that next step now and representing Nevada County State?
Well, and it was asked to me why, because I ended up writing 8 essays, and we did everything. I did everything from my philosophy of teaching, my biography, how do I develop a class culture, how do I involve community, what are some of the concerns I have in our current education system, how do I advocate for the kiddos. And so there was a lot of thought of, why are you even doing this? And as self-effacing maybe as it sounds, you guys, because I've been in Nevada County for so long, I felt that if I had the honor of representing you, if that's what you chose, I wanted to represent well. And I wanted to represent Nevada County because you guys, I've been here since I was 12 years old. So I wanted to represent. So as we go to the state of California, I don't know the governor as well as I know Scott Lay. So I don't know if that were to ever be a possibility, if that would go any further. But I felt very honored to take the time to write those essays. And it was a nice way for me to reflect, like when you do your resume. You realize all the things that you've done, what those thought processes are. It was a good time for me to solidify why I'm teaching and why I'm still going forward with it. So.
And I guess a great question right now is, why are you still teaching?
Why am
Thinking
I
about
still
what
teaching?
you wrote. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I mean, clearly you can tell in your voice you love it and you love the kids. I know that. And you can see it, it's genuine. But is there like a driving force?
Again, back to my mom said there was just no way I wouldn't have been a teacher. It just took me a long time to get there. And I think because this is something that, we all have our niche. We all have our ability to, deal with the elderly or to work in a veterinary hospital or run an orchestra. And apparently this is my niche.
This is it.
And this is something that I know how to do. I think I do it okay. If I were to do anything more, I'd love to develop some curriculum because I call kindergarten the redheaded stepchild. We built these curriculums for 1st through 8th grade, and it's like, we better include kindergarten. And I find that sometimes the littles aren't always accounted for at their level. So if I were to do anything more, it might be that. But I love taking what is there and making it work for the kindergarten. And so that challenge is always there for me, and I like that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, certainly challenging, and each year is different, and that's wonderful. So talking about, we know the next steps are now the state, where there is, in theory, 58 of you moving forward, one for each county, and that comes up in, it's coming up soon.
I think October.
I believe it is October when we find out and we get the we get the call. I mean, if you see Governor Newsom outside the school, you'll know.
First clue.
The Superintendent of Public School Instruction, Tony Thurman. That will be a clue that you did fairly well. So we get that. It's exciting when I get that to see what we did.
Just having this honor, because being in the profession as long as I have and knowing so many teachers, I feel that each teacher I've met, every person in education that I've met, I've taken a part of them anyway. So no matter whether I get it or not, we're all kind of a part of each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's a network that we could not see each other for 6 months and all of a sudden just reconnect so quickly. And it's like I've taken this part from this classroom, this from this teacher. So I feel like I'm a part of all of them anyway. And so to be able to be in October, go to the dinner and say thank you to everyone, it's really a genuine thank you because that's who made me who I am.
Right. All those others who help out are there. Right. And other kindergarten classes, how many are there at Ready Springs? Is it just you?
It.
You are it.
Well, in the afternoon.
Right. I mean, the afternoon.
Right.
Right.
I think we've really only had one kindergarten conglomerate since I've been there.
Since you've been there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've split it up a little bit, but they still come together during the day.
Okay.
So yeah,
Right.
tag.
And I know this year you have a student in your class that is related to you, which is a really special thing. Can be very tough,
Yes.
but also one of the best things that you could do.
Having my grandson in my class, we're navigating, but I found it's really interesting. He's not just another student, but I treat him more equally than I thought I would. And I'm Honey at home.
Right.
So when I say good morning and they have to say good morning, Mrs. Perdue, when I get to him, I'll say good morning, and he'll say good morning, and you know.
Right. Takes
do
a
I
little time
call
for
you
him
honey?
to, where
But I find also because the other students know what he calls me, I'm ending up being Mrs. Honey.
Right.
So
Right.
I also have a dual
You've got another
personality
name.
in there too. When he wants my attention, I'm Mrs. Perdue.
Right.
When it's like he just needs something little, it's Honey. So
It is. Oh, that's great.
yeah,
That's very
it's
cool.
working out really well. I'm excited.
That's great. That is great, because sometimes, you work so hard at making sure your own child or grandchild don't get extra attention, you almost go the other way. So it really is a fine balance, because you don't want it to be too much in favor of them, and the other kids are like going, hey.
Well,
So you have to be careful. That's
when your children were in school, right? And it's like if you were in their class, you did ride them a little bit harder.
Yeah.
It's a little different with a grandbaby.
Oh, it is.
I
That's
have to
different.
say.
Grandkids are, it's kind of special. So that's awesome.
Yes. Thank
Well, let's talk about trends that you've seen over the years in education or kindergarten.
Yeah, I think in kindergarten, because kindergarten has become so academic, that we've lost some of the ability to also make it very social. So I'm starting, that's why I start at such a basic level of learning to get along with each other, learning to love school, learning to love learning. But also with parents being out of the house and with all of the things that are going on in our world right now, those basic skills that we take for granted don't necessarily travel with them into kindergarten now. So I am teaching them, how to even have a conversation. We actually practice. First you talk, then I talk.
To listen,
To listen.
Yeah.
How to sit. How to, smile at somebody or to assume that a positive intent. Like, are they staring at me? They're picking on me. It's like, how do you know? I teach them to say,
the best.
Yes. How do you know? Did you ask them?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know they're staring at you? Well, they're looking this way. Well, they might be, staring at the moon. Let's go find out. So just trying to give them the courage, giving them the strength, the confidence to stand up on their own so that we can go forward, which a lot of times, they came with that.
Right.
And at no fault of anybody, just the way that our world is right now, that's a step that we have to do, those social stories. How do we share? How do we take turns? Following directions. So that's a big one.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot since we came back from COVID.
Yes.
Because we had a couple years where kids, because of the circumstances, either they couldn't be in school or parents didn't want them in school because they were very nervous. And we're seeing that those social skills aren't as they used to be.
Right.
So it's extra work because we know how important those are for the students.
Yeah, and so, they talk about a learning gap. Well, in kindergarten, I don't know if you have a learning gap.
Right. Yeah. I need to find that with a kindergartner. Yeah.
But I looked at it more as a maturity gap. The social maturity that I'm having to get creative with and realize it wasn't a me thing or a them thing. It was an us thing that we needed to work together on.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And also you brought up something else you were saying about that playtime. I noticed that sometimes our state is so busy at structuring the day, every moment of the day, that unstructured creativity time is really important. We let those kids' imaginations run wild, and and it's great because we see where the kids are when they're kindergartners. They're all. I think we've done studies where they're all, 100% of the kindergartners are at the genius level.
Oh, yes.
And as we go through the grades, that drops every year.
Because we take away their
Because we
ability.
take it away, and that's
Yeah.
always a concern of how do we teach without bringing things stifling to make sure that creativity remains and they go all the way through.
I actually build into my day a time called Plan and Do, where they make a choice and sticking with that choice. And it's a time for them to do creative play, but there's critical thought. If the building falls, how do I build it up again? What do I do differently? It helps them take that time and independence to figure things out on their own, to work with others, learn to play in the sandbox together. And that's what play is, learning to take the risk a little bit. What can I do when it doesn't work?
Right.
How do I want to react? Do I want to sit and have a tantrum because it didn't work, or how can I make it again and do something different? That is so valuable.
Yeah.
That time, you can't teach what they learn in that.
No,
They have to learn
agreed.
it on their own, but I can guide them and provide the opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Other things, anything else you've seen or want to bring up to our audience?
It's hard, I will say that.
Oh, yeah.
Teaching is hard, and again, as we become a culture, I think, that has been divided a little bit more, with mom working, dad working. We don't have those many hands in the home that we used to, which means we also don't have that many hands that come to school like they were able to. And I would really, I'm really starting to find that if I can encourage and bring people back into the classroom and have them see their babies work with others, see what they do, so you know who Susie is.
Right,
When they come
right.
home and say, Susie did this, you know who Susie is, but you also see the levels at which they're working. If there's an opportunity for people to work in that classroom again, to come together to work as a village and create that time, it's really valuable.
Yeah.
And you can't leave without a smile. And there's always some really cool stories to tell by the time you're done.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
I think that is important, and some parents might be a little nervous to come in the classroom, but it's great. There's always something
There's always
you
something.
can do, whether
Yes.
it's working directly with the kids or helping with the bulletin board if you're kind of like, I'm a little nervous.
I can have
to
them
start
cut out
with.
penguins.
Yeah, things like that. There's no end to things that need to be
Yes.
cut out in kindergarten.
Yes.
Yeah, with that. Well, that's great. Well, Annie, thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming in. And, again, Annie Perdue, the Nevada County Teacher of the Year from Ready Springs, our kindergarten teacher. So just excited you made time to come in today and tell us a little bit about yourself, about the teaching profession today, and the process of Teacher of the Year.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
You bet.
Thanks.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in again to Ed Talk. Take care.